we are back with another episode of the Rethink Now podcast. Getting reasonably consistent with this, going to try and put it out every week. This is another discussion between myself and Tanya. We kind of start by talking about the current restrictions and the effects on mental health in the UK. Important stuff. But we try and then get on to the future of high streets, how we can use this moment to kind of build back better, if that phrase hasn't yet been copyrighted. The next episode to be published this week as well, hopefully, is an interview with Sammy, who owns an independent business in Heswell, which is not far from where we live here on the Wirral. That'll be coming soon. Do check us out on SoundCloud and through our website, rethinknow.uk, which is due a revamp any minute now as well. And in the meantime, enjoy the show. Okay, we're set up. You alright, Tanya? Take a breath. We've got Dermot the dog sleeping in the corner of the room over there.
We've got Dermy dog sleeping over there, and I have significantly calmed down from my stressful start to the morning, which came about due to my own ineptitude in what do you mean?
No, well, I'm just saying I came in this morning.
That sounded like an actual, yeah, you are absolutely
it's a story. I came in and asked that question that you should never ask someone. How are you? You're supposed to just say, I'm fine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was still working on the old, mental health awareness day, and asking if you're okay, and then being accepting of the clunky, awkward answer and embracing the whole person. Sorry, that's where I was.
That's cool. Well, you're doing this accountability group thing with your a gang of people. Quickly tell us about that then.
Yeah, so I, in my day job, I'm a coach. So I support people to kind of reach the goals and aims that they want to achieve, whatever they may be. Sometimes they're about creating a different work-life balance. Sometimes they're about having a healthier relationship with food. Sometimes they're about maybe making a significant change in your life. But a part of that is, it's the old adage, isn't it? How do you eat an elephant? One bit at a time. And so having a 12-week accountability group just means that every day you're kind of checking in and saying, did you do that thing you were going to do today? Did you drink that water? Okay. Did you go for that run? And it's really important to get the message over that you don't just share your wins and successes. You tell people when you've screwed up, when you've had a bad day, when you've fallen off the wagon, because that happens. And I don't want people to feel like they can't bring that to the table.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really, really important to be able to show up and say, yeah, I absolutely had 12 Kit Kats today and it was a bit of a mess. Can you kind of put your arms around me virtually and tell me to go again, and tell me that I don't need to beat myself up and get carried away with those negative thought processes?
Well, bringing us on to kind of what we're going to talk about today, which is everything but healthy high streets and kind of community resilience.
Yeah.
We're about to get the news officially, I think, in Merseyside. Sorry, the Liverpool City Region, which a lot of people need to remember isn't just Liverpool.
No, it isn't. It's Liverpool, Merseyside, Holton, Wirral, St Helens.
Sefton, I think. Is it?
Double check, people.
Check. Check it out. Yeah, it's a big region of like 1.5 million people. But yeah, we're going to get some pretty serious COVID restrictions coming in. Yeah. Which is going to hit people hard in various ways, isn't it?
I think so. I've definitely found it a bit kind of emotionally tiring and a little bit wearing to just be, really? Are we still? Oh, we're still doing this. Great. And I am not dismissive of the reasons why, but it is a hard pill to swallow, isn't it? When effectively grandparents are being asked to stay away from their grandchildren, and that essentially the essence of what makes life worth living for a lot of people is being put on hold, or it's being curtailed. And I think that it's really really important that we don't just hang on to all the things that we can't do and all the people that we can't see, and we kind of try and think of a way around that, you know. But that's difficult because you have to allow yourself to feel sad and upset about it as well. You don't want to just squash that because this is rubbish and it's difficult. So,
and we need more than just Zoom quizzes, don't we, to get us through the next 6 months?
Yeah, we need a lot more than Zoom quizzes, don't we, to get us through the next 6 months. We need a lot more. We need social interaction. We need social interaction. That is one of life's biggest gifts.
It is indeed, and that, I mean, we'll come on to this stuff more in a bit, but we're kind of formulating a bit of a plan, aren't we, for a funding bid at the moment, which is kind of based around resilience to climate change and creating a positive vision of what the world can be 10, 15 years from now, which involves healthier high streets and involves a better connected communities.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. And the kind of genuine support of a local community. I am on my local Facebook group, and a lovely lady posted on there today, just, hi, I think it's really important that we get to know each other as a community. And so, lots of people go on there to ask questions. Does anyone know a decorator? Does anyone know why that road is closed? Can anyone help with whatever? And Caroline went on there today and said, this is just a post to let you know who I am, who my family is. We live locally, and I'd love to know a little bit more about the people behind the why is this closed, what's going on.
Yep.
So to get a bit more of a sense of community in that way. And I think that initiatives like that and ideas like that are going to become more and more important.
They are.
It's sad that we lost them.
I know, yeah. I mean, I'm my transport head. I'm on Twitter, like obsessing over car culture and how we can break it, basically, and the kind of beautiful world that awaits us if we do manage to. So, I'm looking at photos of what residential streets used to look like back in the day. Even when I was a kid, kids playing football in the street. And I saw a cool little anecdote of a cycle campaigner. He recently had to replace a neighbour's window because his kids were playing in the street and they smashed a window. I'm not sure if they're playing cricket or football, one of the two, I think it was. But he went to knock on this door, the door of this person whose window the kid had just put through, and it was an elderly couple, and obviously he was nervous about the conversation. But he was instantly struck upon their response, because they were actually happy that their window had been put through by kids, because they were kind of reminiscing about how kids used to play football in the street.
Oh, nice.
So they had a nice conversation about that, and obviously it played into his whole cycling is amazing and healthy streets are amazing stuff. But then the glazer that came to come and fix the window started reminiscing about how 20 years ago he used to do a really good trade from windows that were put in by kids smashing them with footballs.
Maybe he should sponsor the local football team.
Maybe. I know. I need to speak to Babington Glazing. I think they're quite a prominent Wirral-based one.
Yeah.
They should be getting behind road closures for like play streets and stuff, because they'll do a rowing trade.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The Glaziers, they have got some footage in football, haven't they?
They do, actually. They're always sponsoring the kids.
I meant the Glaziers that bought Man United.
But, the Glaziers.
Yeah.
Excusez-moi.
Do you see my little pun there?
Yeah, so that's a small little win for healthy streets for
that's really
companies.
nice.
But it's about that idea of like communities actually interacting with each other. And I smashed the window when I was a kid of my neighbour, and I was distraught and all that stuff. But at the same time, there are some little weird benefits to this stuff, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. It's and there's a programme on BBC, I think, called Life, written by the people that wrote Dr. Foster, and it's about people that live in like a communal, not a house share, but like flats in a house, and it's about how their lives interweave and intermingle, and I don't think there's enough of that, is there? Because obviously now a lot of people live in their own homes. They leave at home in the morning, get into their car, they drive to work. And so traditionally, pre-COVID, the opportunity for interaction has been reduced, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, there is a famous picture that does the rounds as well on like transport Twitter about, generally people, even on public transport, will just have their heads buried in a phone or focused on their phone, not interacting with the people around them. And then there's a photo from like 60 years ago, a load of men in hats and suits on a train, I think it is, all reading like the broadsheet paper. So we have this idea in the past everyone talked to each other, but they didn't necessarily.
Yeah.
But it was just a different kind of, I want my space, I want to read the newspaper, leave me alone.
I've got a lot of time for that.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of time for being left alone, but also for feeling like you're part of something bigger.
Yeah. So yeah, strange times. I mean, coming back to COVID and the restrictions, I've seen a couple of things going on online, Facebook and things pals have said. In suburbia where we exist, there's a bit of a sense of restlessness and like an epidemic of boredom.
Yeah.
On the horizon, or right in front of us.
So I've been talking about this with some of my coach mates, psychologist mates, and if you've got elements of your life or your past or your history or your present that you're unhappy with, then if you're able to go to the pub, go out for dinner, go to the gym, do this, do that, never sit down, never rest, never be still, then that will keep your eye and your mind off the thing that you probably need to process and work through and let go of.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so if you are, perpetually keeping yourself busy because you don't want to visit that in your head because it's too difficult or too painful, then, going shopping, decorating, buying things, being busy, quick, let's go. That's been around for eons, hasn't it? So that we can distract our minds. And then COVID has been an enforced break. And if that's not something that you were ready for or you were wanting, then that is a very hard thing to do, have all your distractions taken away, so you have to look inward. Yep. And if you're not happy, then that's a really painful and difficult thing to have to do.
Yeah.
And so people may be bored because they're used to lovely stuff like seeing friends, seeing family, having birthday parties, etc. But they might just be feeling in pain and feeling uncomfortable because they are now having to sort of pay more attention to the way that they feel.
They are. It's mad, isn't it? Mad times, because like nature has imposed this new world on us, and we haven't had much time. Now, as we head into winter, especially, like summer felt pretty good because whether we should have been or not, maybe in hindsight we overdid it a little bit. But we were out and about, everyone was walking, cycling, and going on little holidays in the UK, or abroad sometimes as well. So, but now it feels like reality's going to set in the next 6 months potentially could be. Yeah,
and it feels pretty heavy, doesn't it? And pretty uncomfortable and pretty sad. And to a lot of my friends work in the arts. They're in singing or theatre or whatever. And a lot of people I know really get a huge amount of pleasure from that.
Yeah.
And I saw the other day I'm gonna mess this up now, but the quote from Robin Williams when he's in the Dead Poets Society, and it's about being an engineer or a professor or a doctor. All of those things are really noble professions. They're all really valuable, but the things that make us want to be alive are the arts. So they are singing, they are theatre, they're going to concerts, they're going to galleries. They are the things that make people feel alive and feel connected to the world they live in. So to have them be so badly affected by this and to kind of remove a huge element of pleasure from people's lives is really challenging, because you're saving the world, but what you're saving it for if there's nothing nothing that gives people pleasure.
I think there's a Churchill quote actually, which actually if you look on like one of those fact find websites, it's like he didn't actually say it, but it's nice anyway, because I think it was during World War II there was a decision he had to make about, which he obviously didn't make this because it's a fake made up quote.
But still.
He should have said it. And he was talking about massive budget cuts in World War II and it affecting the arts and kind of shutting down things like that. And he said, well, what are we fighting for? If we're going to, And he didn't say it, as it turns out. but
he might have said something similar, because Winston Churchill was really keen on art. He was a very keen artist, amateur artist. And
so was Hitler. Hitler was a very good painter, I'll have you know.
And he suffered with depression and low mood and things like that. So I'm still talking about Winston here. I don't know about the other guy.
He's a whole other case, isn't he?
Yeah, and we've only got 30 minutes. So I am not surprised that he found those things so important and so valuable, because to me, like life without the arts is just what for?
I know. What's the point?
Premium Spotify is one of my favourite things. Adding to our family playlist and listening to it on a Sunday when we have dinner is my favourite part of the week. I love it.
Who gets to decide the family playlist then? Just take it in turns or what?
No. So we used to have a piece of paper on the fridge, and every time you heard a song that you thought, this is amazing, you go and write it on there, and then it gets added to the playlist, and then you put it on shuffle, and every song is a cracker. Beautiful. I love it. It's amazing. So, without that, what's
the point?
What's the sense?
A lot of those artists, although I'm sure the big boys will be all right, Coldplay and all that, they'll get through. But a lot of those artists are struggling. Like my cousin, my wife's cousin, is she's in a band and she teaches music as well in South Wales, and she's getting by all right. But she's not touring, she's not gigging, she's not spreading that amazing talent she has for playing the fiddle.
Yeah, and it's and that will take away an element of their purpose, and that's why I think you'll find that so many of the artists and singers have taken to Facebook Live and taken to Instagram and stuff like that and done live impromptu concerts because people want it and people need it. And Sophie Ellis-Bextor, Kitchen Disco.
Oh yeah.
She wanted to share that, and she said that it had a massive positive impact on how she felt like she was in control of managing their lockdown. She was providing something that she loved to other people.
That was cool.
And it was amazing. So, yeah, I think that the arts and sport, getting them back, are really, really important. And
sport's a tough one, and it's sport, especially like football. It kind of, there's a bit snobbery around bringing football back, because there's kind of
because it's not hunting. You're allowed to go hunting.
But I mean,
if you're a Tory donor,
you can quite easily. Sport is entertainment at the end of the day, especially on the scale that the Premier League or the Football League is.
Sport keeps people alive every day. You know how I feel about Park Run. Sport is something that people hang conversation off, and so if that's taken away and you don't feel comfortable in talking about the way that you feel, and you've got nothing else kind of to talk around, then it takes away a really important element of social interaction.
It does.
Do you want to come to the footy? Do you want to go fishing? Do you want to spend some time with me in companionable silence? People need people.
They do. Moving on, I'd like to talk a bit more about high streets and our public realm.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure by the time this one goes out whether I will have published the interview I've done with Sammy from the Barn in Heswell, which is a really cool little independent business, just off, not quite on the high street. I think we're going to title it, because she's just off the main high street in Heswell. Just talking about the ups and downs of running a business like that, and how nimble she's had to be in the last 6 months or so, and going to have to be in the 6 months ahead.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. So I'll publish that as soon as I can. So keep an eye on the SoundCloud and the website. But I do see these, not so much these immediate restrictions, but how we redesign our high streets and our little row shops around the corner.
Yeah.
Has there's a huge potential for growth in those areas.
Yeah.
Not just like financial growth, but I do think they can do well financially, but like spiritual growth for the high street and our communities.
And I would say it's probably the redirection of money, isn't it? Instead of giving it to the big players and instead of giving it to people like Amazon and things like that, it's redirecting your money to the local economy so it can become more circular.
Yep.
And in doing that, you're feeding the high street that you want your kids to enjoy when they're older. One of my memories as a kid was me going to the butcher's in Pensby with my mum. So after preschool, we'd walk there. I'd sit on the little chair whilst she got the meat, she got the fruit, and then we'd walk home together. And both of those shops are now still there. Amazing.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a butcher's when I was a kid that is not still there, but there's a greengrocer's that was next door, which isn't. But there's another one not far away that we still use. And I've actually made a conscious point now in the last month. So we still shop at Asda. We do our weekly shop. But
the Asda.
The Asdas, some people say. But no fruit and veg.
Okay.
It's like all fruit and veg I now go with my rucksack on a lunch break and just pile it into there and get all my fruit and veg from around the corner. I've no idea actually whether it's fruit and veg that is still being imported from God knows where, but it feels better that at least I'm investing the money.
Yeah,
and it's dead easy to do.
Yeah.
You know?
We've got a lovely little greengrocers around the corner from us called Fine Fruits of Pensby, and they do collection or delivery, and they have gorgeous cakes and stuff that comes from a restaurant down the road called Nova, and so they are really key in the circular economy. I really, really like that. But a few years ago, my sister and a friend set up an event called the Fabulous Frost Fair, and that was all about championing local business, small independent producers.
Yeah.
But
I went to it before I even knew you existed.
Yeah. But essentially, like the least important element of that was what people bought. For me, the least important element of that event was what people bought. I wanted, and this is what I want local high streets to become, I wanted to create a sense of community and an occasion so that you could get together with friends and family and spend time and create memories.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing, because it will fill your cup, it will make you, it will sustain you when times are more tricky, or perhaps when, someone that you love has passed away. If you know that you've spent quality time and you've got happy memories to look back on, then I think job done.
Mm-hmm.
And a topic for another day is how the West views the idea of death and dying, because I'm mega passionate about that, because it's going to happen. Everyone's going to die. And I sort of feel like obituaries are a little bit after the horse has bolted. Do you know what I mean? If you might as well tell someone how you feel about them when they're around, because once they're gone, you can, you can light a candle, you can do whatever you want, but I think love is best shared.
I think you're probably right. But yeah, I mean, we're so far down the line, aren't we, in the West, with certain other rituals and ways of doing things.
Oh, God, yeah.
We have trouble talking about stuff like this.
It does my head in. We try and sanitise everything, but sometimes life is really messy and ugly and uncomfortable, and you can't sanitise it all. You just can't.
I'm fascinated by Japanese culture, like
increasingly.
So.
My husband is.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to have a chat about that. And for loads of reasons, really. I think from when I was a kid, I used to read a lot of computer game magazines and through video games, because a lot of them were made in Japan. It just kind of seeped into me, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But I still am now, and especially with Studio Ghibli films on Netflix. Spirited Away.
You've told me about them, yeah.
Just something about the streetscape in Japan and like the way they seem to just kind of just do things differently. And a part of this, when I think about high streets and how they should look, I think we need some kind of and you'll get this in Japanese places. There's like a shrine everywhere. There's little shrines everywhere to certain religions and what have you. I know we have churches over here, but our high streets will be quite sanitized places.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go to kind of remember people that have passed away or things that have happened to you, and to kind of like grieve in public. So these are quite strange concepts which I haven't really talked about in terms of rethink ideas.
And they're really far away from what people are comfortable with over here, aren't they? This is one to watch. Have you guys seen Giri Haji?
No.
Well, I would massively recommend that. It's amazing. I think you'll find it on the iPlayer, but it's about two Japanese brothers, and it means something like pride and duty or something like that. And it's about two brothers, two different paths, and about how, and maybe it's honour and duty. It's about how family honour is really important and things like that. So I'd recommend that as a watch. You're going to be in more than you have been.
Yeah. We're getting pretty deep here, which is cool. We will talk about things like this in more depth and try and get people to understand why this linked to climate change and resilience. And
yeah, so you were saying to me before that, and you mentioned this, you kind of touched on this last week. You said that COVID-19 is basically kind of like a precursor to the climate emergency that is imminent and that we are in, but we're just ignoring. Lots of people are ignoring.
Yeah.
So,
well,
hit me up. Tell me more.
I need to get someone on the show actually to talk about this who has a bit more qualified to discuss it. But it was in the Extinction, the Facts, which is on iPlayer still, which is one of Attenborough's recent docs.
Do you mean Sir David Attenborough?
Sir David Attenborough. Mightiest.
Calling him Attenborough.
Yeah, we go away. Yeah, man, you wouldn't mind. There's a whole segment on it about how pandemics and these little viruses that are supposed to be hidden away in the jungle or in parts of the world and animal species that we're not supposed to be interacting with.
Oh, okay.
Come about because we kind of spread our wings a bit too far into.
So it's kind of like, you know, that amazing advert for Iceland. There's an orangutan in my bedroom and I don't know what to do. So the orangutan had to move out of the jungle because we were cutting down the trees for palm oil. Well, COVID had to move because, you know, we took away the space that it was meant to have.
So it's like it's a direct readout of.
It's like Earth. A less attractive orangutan.
It is, yeah. And it's a direct readout from planet Earth, just to kind of. I'm not saying the virus has a conscience or anything like that, or planet Earth does even. You might think it does. You know, I'm cool with that. But you know,
Moana tells me it does.
We watched that again at the weekend. Wow, Blummerneck, the music, man, all of it. But it's a direct readout, and it's things like this not only highlight that we are in a climate and environmental emergency, and we will be for the rest of our lives. Like this is where we are now. But also it highlights how little resilience we have to stuff. So like a lot of people, myself included, I guess, are trying to get through the next 6 months so that everything will return to normal. But it ain't gonna happen like that, I don't think. You know, we need to build in the resilience, which includes making things more local and making local resilience very, very important to everything we do.
Yeah. I don't want us to become like champions for Royston Vasey. You know, I'm not saying we're a local town for local people. Yeah. You know, I think that it's, you know, having all cultures and having everything accessible and acceptable, and you know, just being okay with that is a massive bonus and benefit of living in the 21st century. And I hope that will just improve and improve. But I do think that if you have got the option, and we do have the option, if you've got the option to shop locally, shop independently, shop less, then that's something that
that's not something that tends to get talked about much in, you know, like funding bids and places that are trying to dish out money or people that are talking about change, they tend not to talk much about actually travelling less and actually consuming less, which is a hard one to broach. You know, go on.
I think consuming less is really important. What's your experience or feelings about secondhand and do I want to say skip diving?
Hang on, let's hit record on this again. It's run out of film. There we go, she's going. About skip diving?
Well, not necessarily skip diving, but you know, there's been a lot of chit chat about the North-South divide of late, and my husband is from Surrey, and when I came back from the tip a little while ago, and I had a new chest of drawers, that wasn't massively well received. But it's beautiful, and it goes with some of the stuff that we've already got, and you know, I didn't need it enough to buy a new one, but I defo wasn't going to leave it there. And we're now like, don't know why I've checked my watch, but we're now like 6 years on into having it in our home.
It still works.
Chest of drawers still works. So I am very much into like reduce, reuse, repurpose, recycle. But some people are a bit sniffy about it, man.
They are, yeah. And I mean, I'm well up for it and into it. I don't necessarily always go down that avenue. In fact, I've got a lot of work personally to do on that front. But yeah, I guess it comes on to the idea that a lot of the changes needed environmentally, walking, cycling, reusing things, not buying so much stuff, not having to go somewhere every weekend to go and spend some of your dosh, show that it's not so much a mathematical issue, climate change, it's more psychological, or a combination of the two, you know. And I think even Sir David Attenborough has finally put his head above the parapet just in the last week or so in an interview, saying that we need to squash capitalism, really. Even he's said that.
He said statement, Dave.
He said it through his Netflix angle, because I'm not sure when he's got his BBC hat on whether he's allowed to say stuff like that on the BBC, whether it would just be shot down in flames or at the scripting stage. It's hard to see, you know. It's when we get into the tricky political stuff. But it's hard to see a future where we don't really address that question and whether it's possible to really.
And as we touched on last week, that has got to be on a sliding scale, hasn't it? Because there are some people who, you know, I mean, like Elton John for about 5 years had no idea how much money he was spending on flowers because he was just like outsourcing that. So for some people, obviously reducing the amount of things that you buy is going to be maybe not preferable, but easier because there's more fat available to be cut. But for some people, that's going to be really, really limited. So it's important that that we're honest about that, because not everyone is in the same situation where they've got loads of stuff that they can stop buying or get rid of because they're really limited at the moment anyway. It's
a heck of a problem, isn't it, man? And
it's huge, but it is huge. But I think that, as with anything, it can become something where people think, oh God, it's so big, it's so overwhelming.
It's an elephant.
It's an elephant. Might as well not start. But, you know, everyone can do something little to make a difference. Mm-hmm. So I think we probably nearly need to stop now, but I think, because I don't want to end on people, you know, feeling really low and depressed, I think if you could recommend 3 things that people could do that would have a positive impact on their carbon footprint today, what do you reckon you'd suggest?
Whoa.
It's going to become mega clear now that this is not scripted.
Yeah, I know, flipping heck. That's not in the notes there, Sam, flipping heck. 3 things. I think one of the most important things people can do is to start talking about it all the time.
Okay.
With friends and family. I think a lot of us, me included, I resist the urge to talk about environmental stuff with friends and family and stuff. Not necessarily, if someone's just bought a new car or booked a holiday abroad, just to kind of drop it in conversation here, there and everywhere. Not be ashamed about it. I think that's an overlooked thing.
Okay.
If you're not already on a green tariff for your lecky and your gas, if such a thing exists for gas, I would do that instantly because it's putting your money into
positive stuff,
renewable energy.
Yeah.
And transport is huge, like decarbonising transport. So it's flatlining and has done for years. So start walking and cycling and just trying to just understand what the streets are like locally for you on a bike.
Yeah. So you might want to walk first and get a good sense of how safe it feels, what you feel like in that environment.
Yeah.
Before you head out on a bike, because I can find that quite intimidating.
Mm. Yeah, it is, and I quite enjoy that thrill. I'll miss it when it's gone in some ways, but I've conditioned myself just to know, what it's like. And there's some roads I avoid, like the plague, But
so yeah, okay.
But yeah, just start going out. Yeah, and if you're the type of person who is used to just getting in the car as soon as they leave the house, don't feel guilty because a lot of us, I used to do it. But just start to walk those routes and just start to notice. Is it noisy? Is it polluted? Can you smell the fumes? Would you let your kids walk or cycle these routes on their own? Cycling's one thing, but even just walking, would you let your kids cross all of the roads on the way to your local shops? If the answer is no, then you've got some work to do locally. Yeah.
I'm really fortunate because we can walk all the way to our local shops without having to cross. Really, if you go one way, you have to cross about 2 minor roads. So yeah, we're really fortunate. But yeah, that's a good test. How many roads would your child have to cross in order to get to the local shops?
Yeah, or to Granny Grandpa's and that kind of thing, or whoever lives. Little routes that you do locally that you might normally drive, but you're gonna have to find a different way.
Gonna have to rethink.
Mm-hmm.
Should we leave it there?
Yeah, I think we should. 40 minutes, nearly there. Chit-chatting, it's easy, man, isn't it, when you get going?
Yeah.
Is there a thread that's run through all this stuff? I'm not sure.
I was trying to cling on to one then. I'm not sure. Community, maybe? Personal responsibility?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll think of a snappy title to kind of
pull it all together.
Yeah. If you have been watching this on YouTube, you might notice this microphone, but look, it's not even plugged in. I just put it there just to kind of make us look a bit more the part.
Ed's broken it.
I think I might have broken my pal's microphone. I'm striving for better audio quality for this show, but every time I try and make an improvement, something happens. But we'll see.
Maybe you're putting a barrier subconsciously in your way.
Maybe, I know. Need to crack on. Well, we did it anyway, didn't we?
Yeah.
We'll do some more next week. Sammy's episode is coming out soon, and we do have
a pilot and an original.
Yeah, we have got a few episodes out already, and we've got lots of people lined up to come on and be interviewed. And, yeah.
Until then, thanks for listening.
Yeah, take it easy. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.